Hello everyone, a little bit colder and wetter this morning, so I've come back in the office to talk to you. That's my excuse anyway. Yeah, so what have you been doing? We've been carrying on with the Roadless, really. That's in the workshop now. I think I showed you that last time. Anyway, we made a bit of progress with it, but I thought I'd just show you the pictures of when I bought it in the first place. It was found. Well, it wasn't found. I knew it was there, but it took me a while to get the chap to sell it. So it was in a wood, and we had to get it in a wood and get it loaded up and bring it home. And then we got it going. But these are only still photographs, no video. So I'll just run through those with you, and you can see what it was all about. So we got the tractor home. I hadn't actually heard it running, although they told me that it was a good engine. And so the next thing was get it in the workshop and get it together. There was no tin work with it at all. Mud guards had gone, bonnet, cowling, everything, and it was in a fair old state really. The tyres were there, but the rims were absolutely shot. The tyres weren't much better, and I was afraid to. Definitely the black ones. I was afraid to blow them up too tight in case it blew them off the rim. So it was a bit of a project. But anyway, we sort of threw it together and got it going, and then we got it out. So I'll show you what it was looked like for a while anyway. So that was how we got it finished or assembled in the workshop and got it so as it worked, and it was okay. You know, we kept it like it for a couple of years, but I was never really happy about it. It was, you know, 6-cylinder Roadless, and it deserved better things. It was never quite finished. The front wheels were better than the back wheels. The back wheels were absolutely hopeless. I did put another pair of wheels on that, but they were 36s, and really they should be 38s to balance the front axle out. And if you ever put it in gear with 36s on, you'd see why, because it would literally drag the back wheels along. You know, you'd leave not necessarily skid marks on tarmac, but you wouldn't do your diff any good. But if you were on loose soil, you would be dragging the back wheels. So I'd got to get some 38s, and I did eventually find them and get the bits together. But the chance came when my brother had got some really good poles working for him, and they were good at restoring stuff, and they did 2 or 3 tractors for me, and I thought, right, this is the boy for them, because we got a few issues we wanted to sort it out. So it went up to my brother's in Banbury, and then unfortunately COVID hit, and that's where it sat. They'd taken the engine out, which is what they were supposed to do, and what we did, we split a sump. You'll see how in a minute, and welded it up again. So we got the rigid sump that it needed. It's no good with aluminium sump because you'll rip the thing in half. So a lot of it was done, but it sat there and sat there and sat there, and it clearly wasn't going to get done. You know, just didn't have the people, so we brought it back here, where it sat and sat and sat. And you know, I've shown it you in several videos, but we've finally got it in the workshop, and this is where we've got with it now. So this is our next project. Still debating quite what to do, but I think I've now made up my mind. But don't hold your breath, because I could change it again. So we've got this, it's a Roadless, I think it's a Roadless kit on it, super major back end. I've had it a few years now. We did have it all up and running, and then when I was in my, I'm going to change it into a Roadless 6.4 mood, well, it was stripped down again, and we were trying to sort out some of the problems. So as you can see, this front is a little bit of a lash up. It would have been okay, but they've not really finished it off the best they could. So it tends to be a lot of bits of steel just put on there to do something. This front plate here, it's a double thickness front plate. There's no tombstone on it. And when I got it, the engine was mounted on these brackets each side. So and it just didn't look quite right. It wasn't good enough. There's some stays back going underneath it, and because it was an aluminium sump, I'm guessing that was put on there to give it some strength. Because when you've got an aluminium sump on it, you can't actually bolt. There's no bolts on that bottom ring that do anything. You often see it packed out with a few washers and bolts and that, but it doesn't work. It's not strong enough. So I wanted to improve on that. The tractor itself, the back end, although it's not looking very special there, I don't think it's done a lot, and I don't think it ever worked with a four-wheel drive on it, because when I bought it, I couldn't get that to engage, the lever here. That would not engage, and to get it to free, I got underneath it, and there was a piece of steel there that was obstructing it, and always had been. So I got in there with a gas torch and cut it out. Not very tidy, but it was the only way I could do it easily. But I will sort that out when it's stripped down this time. So all this is going. I'm going to take all this off, and we're going to start again. So we'll put new side rails on it. I'm going to put the tombstone back on it. I was debating whether to, quite how to do it, but anyway, what we've done to give it the strength on that sump, this is the engine that came out of it. It doesn't look very healthy there, but it's been sat about for 4 years, I think. And it's upside down now, as you can see. But we've got a sump on there that's the full length. It's got everything there, and it's actually got the place where you put your A-frame. And we've put the correct mountings on the front again, so it will bolt in as it was, and that was where my debate came in, where to sit this axle. But I think now I'm going to put the front axle, this front axle, will go onto the tombstone as it is fitted properly, and the A-frame, which is now coming forwards, I'm going to turn it round and it'll go backwards. And probably build another one actually, so that one's not wasted in case I change my mind. But I'm going to build that A-frame backwards, and I will connect it to that proper A-frame mounting, so it'll be a good strong job back through there. Got to trim the bolts off. What we did with the sump, we cut it in half, picked where to put it, cut it in half, and put a 10-inch section in the sump. And it's not as difficult as it seems, but if anybody ever tells you that the bolts are in the same place, don't believe them, they're not. You can't just cut a sump and put it on. There might be, I don't know, 8 bolts that will actually line up, the rest of them you've got to re-drill. And that's what's happened to that. So that's the plan for that. The other engines you can see about, that's the sump that was on it. That's the sump that was on this engine when I bought it. And I've got it on another 6D, which again is upside down. But that is a good engine. Not quite sure what to do with it. So I did have thoughts about building a 6.2 to go with a 6.4, but I'm just not going to get around to it. So So I probably will put it in something. It's certainly not for sale, so don't even anybody ask me. I'll decide on the day what I'm going to do, but at the moment it's not in my plan to do it. I've got a couple of back ends I could put it into, but I've already got a 6-cylinder major, so do I want another one? So that's where that is. Ian's coming here again for another day, and I'm hoping I'm going to find enough time to come and help, and we'll probably hit that tractor. The cab's an unusual one. It's a Fritz Meyer cab. Lovely cab in its day. That's one of the first Roadlesses I drove was fitted one of those, and you could just flick that windscreen up and perfect weather coming through, hear the exhaust pipe, what everybody wanted. And I put it on that one. I had to build the frame to hold it up, and I built it too low. So it really wants probably 3 inches. That would be enough to do it. But as it is now, when you pull yourself up, you will crack your head. And it doesn't mean a lot to clear it. Sometimes you do it without doing it, sometimes you do. So that'll be changed. So that's another one of the missions. It is going to stop on there. I've got the ability to make it good, make it so that it is a proper frame. Some of the canvas is a bit brittle now, well, very brittle, but we can do that. The biggest job is going to be matching the colour, and you know, we'll get around that somehow. So that's where we are with that. That's the next big project that's going on. So we'll keep on. This is like your introduction to it, although you've seen it before, and we'll see where we go from there. So watch this space. Now, the issue I've had with this tractor ever since I've had it really is that I really fancied a Roadless 6.4, and it just sits better, looks better, and it's a good tractor. Whereas I always considered that to be a bit of a lash up, and I couldn't see how that would be any good. So I'll just show you what my dream is. I don't expect I'll ever get it like this, but my problem's been there is a lot of work in it, and is it worth it? You know, would it be better just to put it back as it is? And that's where I've been bouncing backwards and forwards. If I put it back together tidily, as it was set up before, put new side rails on and tombstone and get everything looking right, it would be quite a respectable tractor. So that was the simple way. Then I have another little brainstorm, and I think, no, I'll do the 6.4. And then I'll come back and see one of the problems that's coming with it, and you go back to the original one. So what we had to do was actually get the engine in and see where we went from there. So that was the next thing. You know, it's ever so easy to plan something, but if you're evolving, you will change your mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with a bit of flexibility. So this is what I hope to attain, and 2 different versions really. So you'll see. You tell me which you think would be the best. Right, so here we are. A little bit more progress made this week. We've got the bits we don't want stripped off, and we were ready to put the engine in, but when we tried to move it, it was stuck. Not seized, but stuck. And if you tried to release an unstuck or a stuck engine, you'll realise that that's almost as bad as seized. Anyway, the solution was we took the sump off, released the bearings, it was the pistons that were holding, a bit of surface rust in there, doesn't need very much. So we found the 2 that were most easy to move, and slackened the big end shells on those, and you could you can get the pistons just to move, only a fraction, but once you've got it moving, you just go backwards and forwards with it and it slowly releases, and then you get to the next two that are tight and you go through that, do the same procedure, and eventually you get it to turn over. We were going well on that until we got to the last piston, and then we were just coming against a dead stop and we couldn't understand what it was. But we think what it was although the engine was drained of oil before it was turned upside down to fix the sump, we think there must have been a residue of oil in there, and that got on top of a piston, which was then upside down, and it was giving us hydraulic lock. So we knew which piston it was, so we simply got underneath it, or got the rocker cover off it, and released that valve, and sure enough that was the problem. So now it turns over beautifully. We haven't started it purely because I haven't put any oil in it yet, but that's where we've got to so far. The engine's in, and it, in theory, you know, there shouldn't be any problem. It was a good engine when it was taken out. It'll be a good engine now it's put back. Not the prettiest. It's got to be sprayed up and sorted out, or we'll change the colours of it. I still can't make up my mind where to put that axle. The axle is off now, took the wheels off it, so the axle's laid here. If I put it on the way I think I want to put it on, that A-frame has got to come off, and there's something been changed on it. There's a modification been made which I haven't quite got to the bottom of yet, but I think it's you know, this tractor's seen a lot of bodging, a lot more than we're going to do to it. I'm not going to say we'll be perfect, but this has had a hammering in its time. Anyway, that's by the by. These tractors will live again. So that axle, I think I'm going to try and set it up tomorrow if I can. I'll get the axle into place and just have a look at what it looks like really. I've got the side plates to make up, get those on, get the tombstone up on the front, and then I can sit the axle there and see how much performance it is to move it back 10 inches, which in effect is what it needs to do to keep it to the same geometry as a 4-cylinder one. I hope that hasn't sounded too complicated, but I know what I mean. Anyway, that's where we are. Nothing more to report on it really. I've got those wheels, when they were on the front axle, the small wheels there, they didn't quite fit in tightly, so we've knocked them off again, rims and everything, and they're just fouling slightly on it. I think it just wants a little bit grained off the top of the cleats that go in there, and then they will go into the centres properly. So that's what the plan is. So we'll see tomorrow what happens. Right, well, I did get out in the workshop yesterday, and it seemed to take me a long time, but actually I don't suppose it was very long. What I've done, I've cut 3 side plates to make up 2 side plates that fit. Just tack those together for now. Put the tombstone on, and then I put the axle up using the workshop crane, put it in position, the position I thought it got to be in. As soon as I'd done it, I realised that it wasn't what I thought. So what I've done, I mocked it up, if you like. I mocked it up with the axle in the position that I was opted for, which would be version 2 on those pictures I showed you just now. And I couldn't really see what I could be doing wrong. And what I was doing was using the A-frame on the sump of the tractor, and I thought that's how they did it. But anyway, I then took the axle out, turned it round, and put it with the A-frame in the what would be the actual slot on the tombstone, and it looks totally different. It hasn't moved it very much, but it's moved it enough. So I've got a couple of photographs. I didn't do any filming out there yesterday, but I've got a couple of photographs of where I've got to with it really, and open to opinion. I think I know which one I'm going, but I really have gone backwards and forwards so many different times. But I think I can see the way of doing it now, and that's exactly what I said earlier on. You know, you think you've got it, and then you change your mind, and everybody's entirely changed their mind, and I changed my mind. So here we are. We'll look at these photographs, and I'll come back to you again. So there's your choices. The first picture shows the setup of which would be version 2, and the second one is pretty well the roadless format. And I've looked at it, and I think I can do that without too much trouble. So at the moment, that's what I'm going for. It'll be the roadless 6.4. It just looks better set up, and you know, no doubt there'll be some problems I'll come across, but I know where it's going. So that's where we are. So the side plates that I've made up for it, I'm not going to throw them away, but I'm going to take those off, and I'll put flat plate back, which is what Roadless have got on the 6.4, and I'll build a bridge to go across to hold the front axle. It'll pivot, the A-frame will pivot on the axle pivot on the tombstone, and I think we'll get a fair replica of the 6.4 in the pictures with a Fritz Mayer cabinet. That's what I'd like to achieve. It won't be as tidy as that because that's immaculate, but we can make it look something like it, and you know, go out and play with it. So that's what I'm doing for now. So not much more to tell you really. There's a few things been going on. There always is something here, but that's the project at the moment. I've got to go up country this week. I'm hoping to pick up an engine. Not sure which tractor to put it in yet, but apparently it will fit a Dexter and a 35. It's the 35 I'm lacking an engine for. The Dexter I've got is in pieces and needs assembling. Come on, Ben Crocker, get your finger out and get that one done for me. But I could go either way on that. It doesn't really matter. The price was right, and we'll see. I'd like to get the 35 going, and I think that's the way the engine will go. But watch this space. All right, that's it for now. See you next time. Cheers.